So, welcome everyone. I am thrilled to be here with you in this moment. My name is Tara Kinden, and today I'm going to walk you through the worth code. And this is the process to unlocking your self-worth through the power of human design. And today I'm going to take you through an experience. So I know that usually the show is walking you through elements of the chart and different structures, that can really help you create a solid foundation with your understanding of human design. But I thought we would do something a little bit different today. And before we begin our process, I just want to recognize you for being here live with me today and to take a minute to ground and settle in, because we all have been coming from very busy places. And whether this is the morning or afternoon or even evening for you, you took time out of your day to be here. So we'll take just a collective deep breath just to settle and ground ourselves in. Let the hecticness of your day or your morning settle out and give yourself the opportunity to enjoy this experience and this process, because it's designed for you to be able to really open and tap into your heart, to get out of your busy mind. And I mean, it's Friday the 13th. Mars just went direct. So now our get up and go is really ready to go. And it would be nice for us to be operating more from our heart centers than from the busyness of this collective energy. I feel it's this electric buzz of overwhelm at times, stress. There's just so much happening. So for you today, I am so grateful that you're here and excited to be walking through this process with you. I am going to try to make sure to save some time at the end, just in case you have questions or there's things that pop up for you throughout the process. And, if you have any questions throughout, Cindy is in the background. I just want to thank, the team for being here and supporting, and for this opportunity to be able to speak directly to your hearts today. So I want to thank Karen Curry Parker for this opportunity. And without further ado, let's get going. So I'm going to share my screen with you and hope it works accordingly. So welcome to the Worth Code. Hopefully you know what you're here for, but if you don't, you're gonna love it, don't worry. So I'm Tara Kinden. I am a 5/1 splenic manifestor initiator, for those of you who don't know what that is. And some of you may be coming here without any background in human design. And don't worry, you don't even need any knowledge really of human design to be able to participate in this experience and get hopefully something so beneficial from being here. I have worked with women for over a decade, honestly, probably close to 2. And I've done so many different levels of work, from running a yoga studio, and I'm going to go through just a little bit of my experience and what brought me to doing this work now. But through the workshops, through the retreats, through the one-on-one work that I've done with women, I really noticed a need to bring the bodies together. And a lot of people will talk about 4 bodies, so the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. But I really believe that there's a 5th element, and this is that energetic body. So the aura, the energy we're putting out into the world, and what your human design chart does is sort of lets you understand how your energy, how you interact with the world around you. So we're going to talk about that today. And really, I'm here to remind you of how worthy, how valuable, and how uniquely amazing you are, as you are, not changing anything. Today isn't about changing any part of yourself. It's about integrating into what you know to be true and bring you into authentic alignment with who you are. So I really am on a mission to create a revolution in the way we see, honor, and value ourselves and what worth looks like. Because your worth isn't your body. It's not your money. It's not your bank account. It's not your likes on Instagram or Facebook. It's you at your core, and you becoming more authentic and more aligned is really the way for you to connect so deeply with the people in your life and the people you love, and even just the people in your community. So this is a little bit about, try to put your life into a quick slide. So I used to be a singer, and that was my dream and my vision. And for those of you who know the music industry, it's fickle and it's complicated, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable because you're striving to gain the attention of a record label. And, sometimes we have to compromise our vision to get into situations or opportunities that can present themselves to us, and that was the life that I was leading, and it wasn't working for me. So I had to stop. This actual picture was from the Calgary Stampede, and I had opened, and there was 29,000 people in the audience. I was like, I have made it. I released an album. And then it all kind of came crashing down around me, and my finances went with it. And part of my self-esteem and my value and my worth, I was so identified with that life that I couldn't see beyond that into the next part. So some of you may be arriving here with, 2020 was the year that all of our worst fears kind of came forward, and we really had to take a look at who we are and what we're here to step into, and what we're no longer willing to accept, from the world and the people that we spend our time with. So I opened a yoga studio not long after that and ran that for over 5 years. I had the opportunity to travel to different cottages, and we did sup yoga. There's a picture of, I was a Lululemon ambassador. And, part of all of these experiences, every time I tried something new, it opened me up to a new level, a new layer of my worth, and understanding like how to accept who I am at my core, just for being me. And that's probably been the hardest journey, is saying, I'm good enough just because I exist. I'm good enough just because I'm here, and sharing my heart with the world. And I hope that, you all learn and understand that just you being here, this once in a lifetime cosmic event, as Karen says that you are, and that we all are, we deserve to be here. We deserve to feel loved, and we deserve to feel valued. So I wrote a book as well, and traveled and lived in the van. You'll see a picture of a van at the bottom. I lived in that van for 30 days with another girl who I met for 45 minutes at a coffee shop and said, hey, do you want to do this thing with me? Because the boys that I had hired to go with me flaked out at the last minute. And I thought, well, you know what? I'd rather go on this trip with an amazing woman. And that's what we did. We traveled across the country and took photos of 30 what I feel are very courageous women who stepped into their power to become super aligned with their work. And through this process, it really dropped me into my feminine side, because I'm a type A personality, very hard driving. And even as a manifestor, I was never resting. So I burned myself out on many occasions. But through the process of interviewing these women and having to live in a van with a woman, it really taught me more about my feminine side, my feminine self. And at 40, so 2 months later, I got pregnant with my one and only child. And that was also a life-changing experience. So from that, I just stepped fully into my coaching process, and human design, dropped into my lap at the right time. And it was like, yes, this is the anchor to my work. It allows me to give people an image and an understanding of who they are, their potential, and how they can express their energy, so beautifully into the world. So before we get started into planting our dream seed, which I am just so excited for you to experience today, I want to talk about the process of manifesting, and how, we're trained that you can think anything into action. If you hold the vision long enough, it will just show up in your lap. If you do enough mantras and affirmations, it can't help but come to you. And the truth is that that is not actually how the process works, and that there's another element and layer to bringing towards you that in which you desire. And if you have, this chart is wide open. So if you have a wide open head center or a defined head center, it doesn't matter. It's like your ability to plug into quantum consciousness, or the quantum field, and possibilities and opportunities can come into you from the head center, right? This is where you're open and receptive, and you're plugging in, and all these ideas can flow into your mind but your mind is just there to hold those potentials and possibilities and to drop them into the ajna to process and continue the thinking process. But no manifestation happens above your chin. It all happens below the chin because your throat center allows you the opportunity to speak things into being, to speak them into action, to speak them into being. But that's just part of the process. So as you pull this idea in, you start to speak about it, and you're expressing or your writing is even part of communication, right? Then you drop it into your heart. And the beauty of your heart center is that there is a frequency that gets calibrated in this center. And depending on how you feel about your worth, about yourself, will kind of dictate what shows up in your external environment for you to choose from. Because no matter which type you are, we're all reliant. Even as a manifester, I'm reliant to make decisions on what shows up in my environment to give me that timing impulse. Yes, this is something I'm ready to move forward for, and it's time. So if you look at your self-worth right now, and I ask you, do you feel valuable? Do you feel important? And just sit with that as we're moving through the rest of this session and as we're moving through the process. Do you honor yourself enough to know when you're pushing too hard or when it's time for you to relax and rest? Because then it drops down into like the root. We're just going to go right to the root, because the root is where I believe we have the soil. And if our soil is toxic, so nothing can take root in toxic soil. And if we have these undercurrents and beliefs about ourselves that are not true, or that we don't really believe, but we heard them as a young person, we heard them as a child, we heard that an old story, a belief, a limit about our worth, about our value, about our importance. If someone said something to you once, it created a crack in your foundation. And when you have these small hairline fractures or full-on cracks in your foundation, it affects the way you're able to plant these seeds, because it's like you're building a house on a shaky foundation, or you're building a house on sand. You've heard this before. But if we're bringing things in from the head and we're speaking them into action, and we believe we can have it, but then we're not getting these things we want showing up in our external environment, you're getting things that are conflicting to what you feel like you feel, then it's going to continue to pull in more of what you don't want if you haven't dealt with the foundation or the story. So I hope you guys are tracking. Let me know if this is making sense to you, but we will have some time to discuss later as we move in. But when we begin to nurture our hearts, we can plant the dream seed. And a lot of us have been planting seeds in soil, on foundations that are fractured and that need our attention. And honestly, 2020 is the year that really opened our eyes to where things weren't congruent, where things were no longer working. As the structures are crumbling, we're noticing, oh yeah, this doesn't feel as aligned as I'd like it to feel, or this doesn't feel quite right anymore, because you've changed. We've all changed enough to know that the things we no longer are willing to accept need to have a shift. So how can we shift it? Well, you can shift a lot in just an instant when you can shift the energy of your heart center, because your heart is your powerhouse. Your heart is where your magnetic monopole resides. So if you have ever heard Karen talk about the magnetic monopole, it can only attract. And as we're attracting towards us that in which we believe we want and we believe we can have, and we're of the purest, like we've dealt with all our cracks, we know where they are, we're putting them to bed, but you haven't really put them to bed. And you're like, why do I have to keep dealing with the same thing over and over? I've dealt with this, I've done this work. Trust me when I tell you, I have also done the work, and there's still elements or fragments that need my attention. It's a constant clearing out process. If you've ever planted a garden before, if you've ever planted flowers before, the weeds always grow. there's just no way to not have the weeds. So we're constantly needing to weed out those thoughts, those ideas, those old stories that continue to pop up, even though you thought, well, I just weeded it a week ago. They still show up. Okay. So we're going to deal with some of your weeds today, and we're going to repair the foundation. So I would love for you to hold this visual of repairing your foundation, and not with bubble gum and not with duct tape, but you're actually going to repair or recognize or understand one of the stories, or maybe a couple of the stories, that have really affected you and have come forward this year, because it's time to look at them and to see what we can do to repair them. Okay. When we repair, we're writing a new story. So we have an opportunity to reframe this old idea, or this old belief, or this old element of something that no longer serves you, and you don't even know where it came from, because you hold the power here. And this is the one thing some of us forget. We get caught up in the story, we get caught up in the drama, we get caught up in the external, and we forget that within us, we hold this power to completely reframe, to change the direction of our lives through making a better choice, a more deliberate choice. But the choices we make, honestly, are so aligned with what we believe to be true about ourselves. So where in your story are you telling yourself, or are you telling the world something that isn't actually true? Maybe it was true for an amount of time, and it was what helped you survive to where you are in this moment, but that it's time now to change the story so that you can make choices that are more aligned with where you want to go instead of where you've been, because this is totally up to you and you hold the power. And so if nothing else today, that you get the baton to know, I can change this, I can do this myself, and that I don't need to rely on someone else to know that I can completely change a story. So let's use an example here. Let's say you heard from a parent, you can't do anything well enough, you're not good at anything, you might as well just, take this job, because listen, as a creative, you're never going to make money, you're never going to survive, and it's probably best that you go and get a real job. Okay, some of you have heard this. I know I heard this. And what that did was create an unconscious belief that, oh, I can't be a creative, I can't do this, I'm going to fail. Well, when different elements of the things that I started to do in my life, like music, when it failed, that reconfirmed the story that I had been told. So what do you think I did? I continued to perpetuate that same story in different ways. Okay, so look at, where is there a story that you've been telling yourself, or that you heard and then you began to tell yourself, that isn't true? Of course, creatives can make money. We can make money in different ways, but we have to believe and rewrite what has been, so we can create something new. Recalibrating your heart changes the frequency that we share with the world. And the heart is a really beautiful, beautiful instrument. We forget how powerful the heart can be. And so I wanted to share some information with you. And the Heart Math Institute, Karen talks about it in all over the place. And I think that it's a really wonderful resource for us to understand the power that is within our heart centers. Okay. So I'm just going to share some of this with you quickly, and then we're going to move into the process. But that your heart produces the largest rhythmic electric field in the physical body. It is 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. Yet we're always taught to think from the mind, to think from your brain, feel in your heart, right? So coming back into the heart, the cardioelectric magnetic communication from the heart has been detected up to 3 feet away from the body in all directions. So imagine this flowing energy through and around you all over, and that you can connect with people 3 feet away. And I'm thinking that's at a minimum, right? At a minimum. the power you have. And even though we're forced to wear masks right now, in different areas, wherever you are, depending on where you are in the world, and a smile goes a long way, and how a smile can really change the energy of someone at a check when you're at a checkout and you smile and that person is having a tough day. You can put a smile on somebody else's face. But what we forget is, like, even though we're closed off, here, and we've had to cover up our mouths, you can feel the energy of someone else's heart, of their environment, of their aura. It's like, it's a powerful force that we forget. If we can recalibrate our own hearts, we can begin to recalibrate the community we're in, the homes that we're in, our relationships. That a mother has the ability to connect her heartbeat or sync with her child, and the child's heartbeat is unbelievably amazing. That why, just putting this out there, is it possible that we could do this with other people, not just with our children, with our partners, with our relationships? So going on, the heart rhythms affect the brain's ability to process information. So if your heart is jammed up with all the I can't, I don't know how, I'm not good enough, imagine the signal or the story your heart is sharing with your brain. It's this conflicting story. So getting really clear in your heart and reminding yourself that, okay, my heart has 40,000 sensory neurons involved, and it relays information to my brain. And I want my brain to get in sync with my heart to share this energy, so that there's this like newer vibration or higher frequency. And when we talk about the higher frequency, it's like, whoa, you feel the difference when you are in a good mood and you are feeling great. And you feel the difference when you're like, I don't even want to get out of bed today. That's the difference between your higher vibe or your, what you want to call it, low vibe, out of sync, whatever. It's just, how can we feel better? How can we feel more energized? Okay. And again, the electromagnetic field, it's 60 times larger in amplitude in your heart and 5,000 times more intense than that of the brain. It also produces and releases oxytocin as much as the brain. And I don't know about you, but I didn't know that. So I think that this is also just another reason for us to get more feel-good hormones running through our bodies by changing the frequency of how we feel about ourselves in our hearts, so that we can sync other people up to this higher level of vibration. That it's a chemical thing, not a spiritual thing, but you can call it both, because it actually is both. So Oxford University had this statement, what I thought was so powerful, that the heart is a state of intelligent consciousness. Amen to that. I believe that to be absolutely true. So we're going to go into the process, and then I want to have some time at the end for you to be able to ask questions, because while I'm in the slideshow, it's kind of hard to look at questions. Or maybe, I don't know if Cindy can relay them maybe. So we'll wait. I'm just going to take you through this process, and it will be a really simple process. And all it calls for you to do is relax. So I think you can all maybe take a deep breath with me, and we're going to settle in. So you can find yourself in a seated position, or you know what, if you want to lay down, please take your brain out of the neutrino stream and relax. So we're going to just take a minute to settle yourself in your seat, and hopefully you have some water close by, because you may process some energy. You may process some emotions, or some things may pop up for you. And just know that I'm holding space for all of us as we move through. And even though I'm not right there with you, I am here with you energetically. And my heart is holding space for all of you as you move through this beautiful process with me. And this process is about opening up your heart, your potential, your dreams, and cleansing and clearing that fertile soil within you, to allow whatever dreams you have, whatever dream you have, to take root and to grow in healthy, solid, beautiful, nourished soil. So as we begin, and I may close my eyes for this, I can't see your beautiful faces anyways. I'm with you, thinking you're all happy and smiling, or you're about to be very happy when we're done. So you can close your eyes. You can place your hands on your thighs or on your chair. If you're lying down, you can relax and place your palms facing up in an order of an attitude of receiving, an attitude of gratitude. So as you're here, you can begin to breathe in through your nose, and we're going to exhale through the mouth. And as you're breathing in, this is a place where you can let it all hang out. You can take a deep breath and fill your belly. Let it rise, expand your lungs, expand your ribs, and inflate all the way up into the chest. So you feel your high heart rise. And then when you exhale, you're just going to let it all out slowly. We're going to take 2 more of these together. We're going to take 1 more beautiful breath together. Soften your face and let all of the tension release, let go, unwind. Relax your shoulders down and away from your ears, and just allow the eyes to rest back into the sockets. Notice if you're holding tension in your face and let it go. Continue to breathe and release. On every breath, you're exhaling any tension, any stress, and allowing yourself to feel grounded, to feel centered, to feel safe and secure in your breath. We're all only 1 breath away from not being here. So utilizing the power of your breath, the power of your energetic force within your heart, reminds you of how powerful you are. So take a minute to move into the head center, moving into the mind, and feeling all the energy that may be swirling in this place. Any ideas that you've been percolating while we've been talking, and just paying attention to how busy your mind is. As you drop down in your visual into your 3rd eye, into that ajna center, opening and seeing beyond what's right in front of you. Maybe seeing a story, something that needs your attention. Breathing here. And then allowing yourself to drop down into the throat. And as you drop down into the throat, this is that beautiful space of communication, of clarity, of moving things forward, of planting the seed begins here. And you feel the energy, this blue, vibrant, spinning disc that is moving clockwise. And maybe you envision it pulsing. Maybe you notice a buzz happening in your body. But when you think of your throat, think of blue, the communication, the clarity. And then we're going to move down into the heart. So as you know in human design, the heart center, the heart chakra, split into 2 centers, the identity, the G center, and the will center. But for today, we're focusing on the whole upper chest, and this is your heart chakra, but also the 2 centers. So focusing your attention in here, focusing on your heart. Feel the beating of your heart. And as you're in this energy, in this space, visualize your favorite flower, and your favorite flower in bud form. So it hasn't bloomed yet. If you've ever seen the bud of a flower, choose your favorite. Allow it to be whatever color you choose. And as you're breathing, you notice maybe some dew on your flower. Visualize the sun. And the sun, as it warms your face, it warms your skin. And on every breath that you take in, you fill up with the energy of that sun. And on every exhale, you begin to notice the flowers, the petals bloom in your flower. Every breath you take in warms your skin, warms your body, and every exhale begins to bloom the flower within your heart. You see the flower begin to expand, to bloom, and on every breath, that expansion opens you up, opens up the energy of your heart and the feeling you have for yourself deep, deep within you. Keep breathing here until you see that flower fully bloom. And as you see that flower begin to fully bloom, you recognize the energy that this flower can hold. And as we move down the stem of your flower, all the way down through the sacral into the root. And you see this beautiful root. You see the roots. You see this fertile soil, cleansed and cleared and energized. It helped create this beautiful bloom in your heart. Take a moment here to think about your dream seed. What seed would you like to plant for yourself? You can take a seed in your fingers and think about, feel the seed, visualize the seed. What is that you'd like to call in for yourself? Take a minute to plant that seed. And I also want to mention here that if nothing is coming to you right now, don't worry. You can come back and listen to this on the replay and do the process again. So as you plant your seed, you then rise back up through the stem, to the root of the flower, all the way up into your bloom. Feel the energy and the vibration of this full bloom. And soak it in for the next 2 breaths. Feel the sun and the warmth on your skin. And then from this heart space, begin to gently wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Remind yourself of this beautiful seed that you've planted, this dream seed. And as you gently begin to come back in, you reopen your eyes, you settle back in, and take note to see how you're feeling. How's your energy? How's your energetic body? How are you feeling? Is there an electric buzz? Is there silence? Do you feel calm and grounded? Just give yourself a minute to come back in. And if you have water, you can take a drink. And I would absolutely love to open up the opportunity for questions here, if that is.
We had some people raise their hands if they wanted to. I can allow them to talk, or do you prefer they can? We prefer usually if they put their question into the chat.
If people want to put their questions in the chat, they can go right ahead and do that. Oops. There we go. So as people are putting their questions in, I'm just going to give you some things to think about for, and Cindy, you can just let me know when a question comes through, but I'm just going to talk about this healing process, because this may not have seemed like you did anything major or that anything, shifted in the moment. But over the next week, you may really be more connected to your visions, to your dreams, to your potential and your possibility. So being really gentle with yourself and journaling, if you can, every day, any stories that pop up, any cracks in your foundations that come forward, any beliefs or things that have really come into your consciousness, and then utilizing, because we're in the most, this is kind of why I chose Friday the 13th, is tomorrow and into Sunday, we have the Scorpio new moon, and there is a completion phase that is happening with this new moon. And it gives us the opportunity to kind of finally be done with an old story, an old belief, an old idea, and allows you to kind of put it to bed, to really fix that crack or that foundation. And if you've never done a new moon ceremony or a full moon ceremony, you basically just write out whatever the story is, whatever the thing is, and you can burn that in a safe place. People, please, safe place before you set that on fire. Or if you like the idea of planting it, is that if you have a garden, you can actually take that paper and plant it and let the earth take it. Let the earth absorb anything that you no longer want or need to deal with. And then I have a beautiful detox bath recipe on my site. I actually have a couple of them, and I'm sure we can link those later for you, but I'll put my link here. So I wanted to share with you, were there any questions? Sorry, Cindy, before I go on.
Yes, there were a couple questions that came in.
Perfect.
On the Zoom. Shelley says, I'm a 5/1 manifestor and know I can repel, but I feel my kindness, yet feel others may not know because my voice, my I am voice strong. How do I deal with this?
Sorry, and you're a 5/1. What's your authority? I'm just curious. That was Shelley, right?
That was Shelley. Emotional.
Okay. So, and the thing is, like, she's so connected. You're so connected to the feelings, right? You're so connected to probably other people's feelings as well. And that, as a 5/1, regardless, like I'm a 5/1 too, so I feel your pain. And I think like the biggest thing that helped me to navigate this part is just understanding we are here, to really mirror back to people the things that they need to work on. And sometimes that's painful because they project onto us this expectation, like we're going to save them or we're going to show them the way, or that, we're horrible people because it's either, they love us or they hate us. And sometimes there's no happy medium. And if you don't understand how powerful you are within yourself and how valuable you are, you can easily get swayed by that energy or those feelings that somebody else is kind of throwing back onto you, if that makes sense. So, doing this work and understanding how valuable you are and dealing with the stories that, are popping up for you will be a game changer. And allowing yourself to just step away from people, especially, and I know it's sometimes hard if it's family, but like, let's say it's a work environment or what have you, you can always just say, I have to go to the bathroom, and then like go to the bathroom and just take a couple of deep breaths to center yourself into the knowing, like, yep, this might not be mine. Just reminding yourself that this might not be yours. And more than likely, it's probably not yours. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Next one.
Tracy says, fantastic presentation. Do you have any suggestions for navigating this neutrino stream?
For navigating this neutrino stream, girl, I'm no scientist. I just know that it's energetically interesting right now, and that in the moment we're experiencing a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction today, which is, it's again pulling forward, like you've probably felt this over the last little while, but it's pulling forward what has been at the beginning of 2020. So in March and April, we're revisiting all of that energy and the fear that came with that original lockdown. So it's like jolting us into dealing with what have we learned? what do we now know, and how do we want to move forward in a way that doesn't feel like we're backtracking? So hopefully that answers some of that. But as far as the neutrino stream, I'm like, just lay down. If you feel overwhelmed, just lay down.
Or hug a tree.
Or hug a tree. Good one. Yes. Take a deep breath. Take your shoes off and go stand on the grass.
Erin had a comment. She said that was so great. She got clarity on her dream, came through, and she's been working intentionally with her dreams and manifesting them for the last few months. And this exercise was a beautiful and powerful exercise for her to get clear about what she truly wants and dream about. Thank you.
I love that. And I mean, that's part of this work. It's like, and I forgot to pull a card just to kind of see, what we needed to all kind of hear today. But thank you for that, because this is just such a simple process. And I really encourage you all to take whatever flower that bloomed for you, the color even, and, include some of that in your wardrobe. Wear that with the earrings, because this is maybe will help you to solidify whatever vision came forward for you. And if it didn't come forward for you, it may come forward for you in the coming days.
There are many comments on Facebook.
What time is it actually? I don't even know.
It's 22.
Oh, good.
We've got time.
Yes, we've got time. There's a couple of things I want to go through with you before we shut her down. So I might just do that. Oh, the restoration card. Okay, so it is, what you experienced today, and it's a woman sitting with a pot, a flower, and before because I know like people will be dropping off because they've got a life to lead, and it's a Friday. So I just want to remind you that, now that you've planted this seed, there is an element of you need to water it. You need to nourish it and water it and give it some sun. And how you do that is through reminding yourself daily of what you're working towards, the person you're becoming, because this is where you're nurturing and you're nourishing this seed. And we can't plant seeds. Like, it's like a garden. I'm just going to go back to the garden analogy because it's so visual. It's like, you can't just plant the seed and go, the Lord will take care of the seed. No, you have to put some legs on that dream, and that's the watering it. That's the weeding around it. That's the nourishing it and making sure it's being fed. So how are you feeding your spirit is the question. And thinking about that, like, this isn't a one-time thing. This is that it's going to grow and evolve, and your job is to nourish it if that is your dream. If it's not, pluck it out and plant a new one. You're not stuck with the one vision you had. So I also want you to know that. Let's do one more question, Cindy, and then I'm gonna just finish off what I have here for you.
Gina says, I'm a 5-1 generator, non-specific solar plexus. I know what I want to work to manifest, but sometimes I feel like giving up. So she's trying not to doubt herself. Do you have any?
Yeah, and I mean, the question I have for you is, sorry, what was her name?
Gina.
Gina. Okay. The one thing I would ask you is, were you told, was there a story that is like, you can only get so far and then you give up? And you remember that as a generator, when you feel frustrated or, even sometimes like you just want to quit, that's the pivotal moment where you can either dig those heels in and learn to master whatever it is, and go all in, or you can quit. But the question is, if it's something you really want, are you willing to do the work to become the master at this thing? Or is it time for you to pivot and change directions? And only you will know this. So maybe the dream isn't big enough for you. Maybe the dream isn't, maybe it's changed. Honestly, I think a lot of people have experienced change this year with their dreams. So I hope that helps, Gina.
She says, thank you. You're wonderful.
Awesome. So I want to just share with you a special masterclass that I'm holding next Wednesday night. This is actually the worth code process. So it's like what I've taken you through today is the foundation. It's like, okay, now you are ready to like put this into motion and to really understand, okay, we're going to go through the gates of your G center, the gates of the will center, and understanding when you're planting this seed to really go through, okay, where are the cracks in my foundation? So what you're going to learn in the masterclass is really about, where does your worth reside in your human design chart? You can just screenshot this and read this. I'm not going to read it all out, but it'll take you through up leveling your worth and your value so that you understand how important you are just because you're here, not because of anything you do or anything you've created, but it's just because you are the amazing person that you are, and that it's time to unlock that. It's time to open up to your fullest potential, and that we go through this worth sequence. So you see, okay, well, if these things are out of alignment, it's going to be very difficult for me to really attract in or bring in or, be in congruency with that big thing, because there's still some elements that are out of sync. So how do I sync all of these things to create more flow, more structure, more fun? And then that we really plant the seed, and that I teach you the ways to nourish it and to reframe your story and rewrite your story so that you're telling a story that is totally aligned with your bigger vision. And this isn't just about 2021. This is like 2020 isn't over yet. And most people are like, and it's done. I'm like, we still actually have 7 weeks left. So how can we make sure that this next little while, because you guys can feel this today, the energy that's buzzing around is intense. So how can we ride the intensity and, come into the new year not feeling exhausted, wiped out of alignment, and all of that really fun stuff that some of us have been experiencing? It's about like, how can you feel more powerful within yourself? And I know the word power sometimes freaks people out, like you're going to become this power hungry person. This isn't about that. This is about like grounding in your knowingness of how important and how valuable and how worthy you really are. So this is it, the beautiful masterclass that I would love to see you in and walk you through the deeper process. If this has opened up anything for you, just being in this freebie experience, the masterclass is going to blow your socks off. I can promise you that. So stay connected, please, if you would like to. I'm on Instagram, obviously Facebook, and I have my website. I also have a podcast, which is the Worthy Woman Collective, and a private Facebook community for you to join if you're a woman. It's for women, sorry, boys. And I just wanted to remind you, it's your time to fly. It is your time to fly and really step into, who you're here to be. So if you felt like there's elements of your life where, I think we all had a little jolt this year that said, okay, what are you really doing here? So if you're ready to take off and really step into that place, let me help you. Let me be your person. So that's it, everyone. That's pretty much my presentation in a nutshell. I want to thank you for being here and for your love and being open to your own potential and possibility, but to also just sharing and holding this container for those who are also here. And then Cindy, I'm happy to take more questions now.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes. Yes.
The question I have for you is, if they want to get the information for your masterclass, are they supposed to go to your website, www?
Yeah, you can just, so if you go, yeah, thank you. I think they're going to post the links below too, but if you want to learn more about the masterclass, you just go to www.tarakinden.com and then / the worth code. And maybe, I don't know if you want to pop that in the comments, that would be just fabulous.
And
even if you go to my Facebook page, it's there as well. It's all linked there. And in my stories on Instagram, it's there too. It's everywhere, people.
Well, that's good. It's good to be everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yes.
Okay. I'm not seeing other questions.
Okay.
I mean, other than the link for the masterclass, which I'm posting to Facebook right now.
Love it.
And would you like to hear some of the comments that people? Oh, here we have a question.
I love questions.
Vilma on Facebook says, I feel pressured to pick the perfect seed. How can I deal with that?
Well, I mean, this is the beauty of this work, is that even when it's about choosing something, because I think a lot of us spend time not in choice because we don't want to make the wrong choice. But I want to remind you, it's like your heart, when you're in this space. So when you go through this process and you really are open and receptive and your channel is clear, it's like whatever inspirations come to you, that can be part of the seed. There's no pressure here to choose only one thing, because if you just start somewhere, you'll see the breadcrumbs for the next step. You'll see things come towards you that you might not have seen before. But if you don't start, those inspirations or those tidbits, they can't come to you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
Oh, that made sense to me.
Awesome.
And Nanette asks, in the masterclass,
Mm-hmm.
when you are looking at the cracks in those two centers, are you looking at open centers and gates or closed ones?
No, so this is an internal game. And only you will know your cracks. It's not something that somebody can identify for you. This is about like when you're doing the process, and probably during this process, if you were in the process, you noticed some stories that may have come forward for you, or just some things that you're like, ooh, something's not quite right with this piece. Only you will know where your cracks are. And I'm pretty sure you might have at least one very visual one for yourself, or something that you're playing with or you're toying with. But yeah, it's not something like, and Karen says this all the time, like, we all have all of the chart. There is nothing that shows up in your chart that says, oh, that's a glaring thing there, that something is fundamentally wrong with you. That is not what your chart is here to identify. Your chart is here to just show you, where do you express that energy consistently, and where it's open, it's like you have the beauty to tap into that energy from somebody else, or to experience that in a different way with different people. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of like master part of that energy, if that makes sense. But yeah, like when it comes to these cracks, no one can identify them for you. Only you will know what they are. And like I said, they may change over time, or it may just be this consistent, nagging, persistent piece that it's like, it's that persistent pest. It won't go away. I can't even think of it right now because I'm totally on this track, but what we resist persists. That's what it is. That if you resist doing the work of looking at or opening the door to, this element, even though you're like, I've already done this, that it will keep coming up for you. It's like you can't get rid of it.
She says, thank you. Enjoyed the process. Blessings.
You're welcome.
I'm not seeing other questions. It was just, redoing your foundation. Michelle on Facebook shares, yes, that makes sense. She's recreating my foundation at 51. So there isn't an age limit. Is that correct?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, look, we all think, oh yeah, we're going to get to this magical age and everything is going to be fine, right? I mean, look, if you make it to 84 or 80, I think it's 84 or 83, you get to have your, I want to say it's your Jupiter return, and like
Uranus.
Your Uranus, yeah. So you get to be a kid again. I mean, here's the thing. Every day is an opportunity to to change and reframe, and to not look at where we've been as a big disaster, or, like, oh, I should be further along. This is, I think, a lot of people's stories. I should be further ahead than I am. And the truth is, well, there's a divine timing element. So you don't get to skip. I know the time benders are all like, I get to skip steps, but you don't get to skip that many steps that you can go from, 20 to 50 and be like, I'm here already at my 25. I'm done. I'm good. It's like every lesson you learn along the way teaches you more about who you are. So, even though you may be a certain age and feel like you've lived 1,000 lives, you probably have. But the cool thing is there's still so much more to live, and there's still so much more to experience. And it doesn't need to be over a number of years. If you get into the right flow and you find, what is your creative flow? How do I tap into that part of myself that's so underexpressed? How can I have more fun? And by tapping into that fun or lighter element of yourself, it gives you permission to go all in and to do things you may have never thought possible because of this old story, because of this old belief, because of this crack. It could be holding you back. So there is no bad time to start this journey. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are, or I should say how mature, how seasoned you are, that there is no wrong time to start this journey, period. If you're here, you are here because there is a reason you arrived to listen to this today. And maybe it provokes you to do something a little bit differently than you have been.
See, now I'm laughing because now I'm seasoned or mature.
I was seasoned or mature. We don't want to say, oh, that's not cool.
See, we're going to do we're already rewriting beliefs.
We are rewriting the language. And this is the one thing I will say. So for those of you who are in like the very beginning stages of your human design journey, you have arrived to the right place because part of Karen's gift and how she is sharing her platform, with us, her leaders, her team, whatever you want to call us, it's like we're all learning this new way of speaking human design, and it's way more nourishing language. It's way more positive. There's a positive spin to it, and like we're so focused on how we can elevate each other, and it's not about I don't even look at the lower expressions of things, to be honest. I'm more like, what's the positive of this, and how can we transform where we're at, at any time, at any age, and how can we be better with each other? Because it's not always easy, and to pretend that it is crazy. So if you're at your beginning journey, I also have like a free course on human design, and it's a 9-video series that walks you through the fundamentals. If you're brand new and you're like, what is the G center? So go take that. It's on my website too. It'll pop up.
Well, that was great. I'm still getting over that you have to put legs on it. When you were saying, you can't just plant the seed and let it go.
You gotta put legs on it. It's like when people say, just believe in the dream, and it's like, affirm this and affirm that. I'm like, no, sister, that is not how this works. Like, you got to put some legs on those dreams. Wings are great, but you got to put some legs on them.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I really enjoyed. But thank you so much.
Yes.
Like Nanette was saying, she enjoyed the process, and blessings.
I love it. Yeah, I wanted to keep this pretty condensed so that you would get, the most bang for your time, because your time is so valuable. And I recognize, how busy everyone is. But the fact that you took time out of your day on a Friday, I might add, to do this for yourself is a total signal to universe that says, I am so ready to do this final cleanup before I move in to a brand new opportunity. And I'm grateful for those of you who showed up, and those of you who are watching the replay, because some of you are going to catch this on the replay. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and for letting me lead you through this process. And I so appreciate you. I hope to see you in my masterclass if that so calls to you, or just connecting on social and being in connection. Thank you.